Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, coming to you live from Corner of the Galaxy Studios on Thursday, January 10th, just 10 days, count them, 10 days before the LA Galaxy will report for physicals January 20th to start the 2019 preseason. Last week we had the schedule released, and that was something that Kevin and I got to talk about on Monday. This week we have a whole bunch of other news that has popped up and come forward, including talking about some of the technical staff that will be joining the LA Galaxy. We have some esports news. We have some rumor trackers. Finally, a defender rumor for everybody who is complaining about defender rumors. That was me rolling my eyes in case you're not watching our live feed. Finally, a defender rumor is there, so we have that as well. Other things, Giovanni Dos Santos, Ashley Colin mentioned in rumors as well, so we're going to talk to you about that. And MLS SuperDraft coming up. So like I said, a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about before we do any of that. Let's welcome back to the show. He was off last week, which was good. That means you guys got sick of me for talking for 60 minutes. The Portuguese hammer himself, Mr. Eric Vieira. Eric, how's it going, buddy?
It's going very well. It's, you know, what's the saying? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. So I think that's why we need these breaks. That way we appreciate each other when we get back together.
Is that what people actually say?
I don't think so, but
okay.
You know, I say it, and it's how we justify my breaks here.
That's fine.
All right, going along with it?
I'll do whatever you say.
We're off to a great start.
You know, we'll make it happen. I'm not too worried about it. But anyway, the LA Galaxy, a busy week. We got some news that came out. Some news that was old news. You know, not that you could tell from some publications out there.
Ooh, shade.
That was shade. That was shade. The thing we could just lead off with, Dave Romney, officially.
It's official.
It's official. Now, if you remember, Corner of the Galaxy, myself, right there, told you Dave Romney was resigning and broke that news on December 18th. So if you have any certain pay sites that you go to that wanted to tell you that it was breaking news or some sort of news that Dave Romney was about to re-sign a contract, and that happened, I think, 2 days ago, whenever it came out or however that ended up happening. The whole deal. If you went to that certain pay site that might rhyme with the Schmathletic,
wow,
yes.
You could have looked up a few words in the thesaurus
to rhyme with that.
Rhyme with it to get.
No, I thought it was good, but anyway, I just thought it was funny. You know, hey, I get to beat my chest every once in a while. This is one of those times. I'm glad.
Enjoy your victory lap.
Yeah, the great thing was, and the thing that made me the best or the happiest out of all this, Eric, was the fact that they announced it. The Galaxy officially announced it, and people were literally saying, "Didn't that happen like a month ago?"
Yeah, it felt like a long time ago.
All right,
and that's a testament to you and the podcast here. Is when news breaks, the Galaxy makes it official, but it should be old news to those of you who listen to Corner of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the name of the show, right? I almost tripped over it.
It's one of those.
It's been a week.
Don't worry about it. You'll settle in eventually. You'll get used to it. No, but I think the Galaxy, you know, they announce things on their own time, which is fine. They certainly don't need to do it, but we're there and we're trying to stay on top of things. And between Kevin and myself, we try to break as much news as we can. And trust me, whenever I say, you know, I think if we both had our choice, we would rather not break news because it's a ton of work in order to do and a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, so whenever you look at all this stuff, you come through. So we're glad Dave Romney, you know, as we told you back in December, re-signed with the LA Galaxy. That's true. Another guy who re-signed with the LA Galaxy, which was announced and which was also broken here on Corner of the Galaxy, was Emmanuel Boateng. So Emmanuel Boateng re-signs. What we're expecting is a multi-year deal. Whenever we say multi-year, that could mean 2 years. It can mean 3 years. Most of the time, what it really means is a 2-year deal, and usually that second year is a team option. So just keep that in mind that 1 year, if you hear next year that you know, Emmanuel Boateng has option declined, right, then you'll know sort of where that whole thing
that was the second year.
Yeah.
And I believe this was an option decline as well, and that's why there was the
he was out of contract.
Okay.
Yeah, he was out of contract.
But still, I think that's a good addition. I know there were rumors that, you know, it wasn't set in stone. There were some other players, Pontius and Romney, that it just seemed like a matter of time. But I know Boateng was one of those names where it didn't seem like it might have been a done deal. But it is a sigh of relief to have him back because he does bring that deadly speed, and that's something, you know, say what you will about everything else, the speed kills, and that is gonna be a factor especially with the condensed season that we have.
I was gonna say, you know, this is one of the things that we've been talking. There's people who are certainly on the other side of the fence with Emmanuel Boateng in terms of, well, whether you should bring him back. And I would argue that without him last year and the injury to Pontius, the Galaxy were in real trouble. And the fact that he was there was a good thing. And I still think he's going to be most dangerous coming off the bench. He hasn't proven that a whole bunch. But it's something that we continue to look at and continue to watch and say, okay, is this going to be the year that he develops into this player that we're pretty sure he's going to be?
Or is this who he is and he's the known commodity? So if you let him go, then who else are you bringing in to give you that piece of the toolbox? And so it's almost, like the devil, you know what you're going to get from him. And so, let's get him in here and we know what we can expect from him and we know exactly which situations we could plug him in. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah. I thought whenever you looked at the 3 out of contract players, Chris Pontius and Dave Romney and Emmanuel Boateng, at first look and first glance, I said, I expect all of them to be back. Because when you look at this team and look at the way it was constructed, it was very easy to sort of find, in my mind, Eric, the guys who you wanted to get rid of this year. Mm-hmm. And then there were guys, first of all, there's 2 categories. There's guys you wanted to get rid of, and then there's guys that you wanted to get rid of and could get rid of.
I was going to say guys that you can get rid of and guys that you want to get rid of.
That matters because you look at it now in the LA Galaxy as it's constituted right now with Emmanuel Boateng being not officially added to the roster, but, put that one in the bank too. Emmanuel Boateng is on my roster that I'm counting. The Galaxy have 23 players. Okay, now you're going to have a total of 28 spots plus 2 homegrowns if you want to fill those 2 homegrown spots. I want to make this clear because people have been asking questions about that. Those homegrown spots, that 29 and 30 spot, you could just take the homegrowns that you have and move them into that spot, which gives you 2 additional. So you can creep into 29 and 30 if you want, but technically the roster is 28 plus 2 homegrowns. All right, so that's how it all works.
Those bottom 2 just keep getting bumped,
right?
As the list fills up,
right? And so you just sort of like, oh, okay, if we really need them, then we can put them on there, and it makes some sense and it works. So anyway, but when you look at it, there's guys like we said who you want to get rid of, Giovanni Dos Santos, and haven't been able to get rid of. There's guys like Jorgen Skjelvik, who I'm sure if you had your choice, you would be like, hey, yeah, that 2-year contract, we would think it's a 2-year contract.
With the money you're paying. You could use that money elsewhere.
We could have easily used that money elsewhere, right? So $1 million last year in 2018. Don't know. Expect raises in 2019. That's how contracts work. Contracts very rarely stay the same unless it's some of the lower level guys. Usually contracts have a higher second year than they do a first year. And usually you never see a contract that goes down in value. That's
front loaded.
Yeah.
At least not in MLS structures.
Yeah, I was going to say, they don't do that. There isn't a lot of front loading in MLS structures. Sometimes there's, I guess, a signing bonus. Like if you get signing bonuses and stuff like that, and then that actually gets amortized over the years. So whenever you look at the money that you're getting on the union, it's actually divided, but they got all that money in 1 year. Don't ever dive into that. Okay, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Don't look into the hidden rules. Don't look directly into the eyes.
Yeah, just as it all goes. So, there's guys like Giovanni Dos Santos you want to get rid of and are trying to get rid of. There's Jorgen Skjelvik, who you want to get rid of but can't get rid of. Perry Kitchen probably falls into the as much money as you're making, maybe we could probably use that money elsewhere, but you can't get rid of him because he had a contract, so he's staying. So, and I said this before last year ended, they were only going to replace a handful of players because everybody else was pretty much locked in. And the guys they've brought back so far, I think, are guys that were guys I would expect to be back. There's
guys and I mentioned it with Ema, guys who you wouldn't feel good if they left.
No,
I think if Romney left, if Boateng left, and Pontius left, you feel a little bit worse about this team than having them stay.
Yeah. So what and that's sort of the balance. But I know there's people out there who didn't like the Dave Romney signing, and you sit there and go, listen, that dude can play 4 positions on the back line. You don't have too many players that can play every single position on the back line. So even if he's not a starter, all right, which I would argue he probably deserves to be a starter after last year and down the stretch.
And it almost better serves you if he's not. If your argument is that, then it almost better serves you that he's not a starter.
Exactly, because he can fit into any of the spots that you need to fill in those areas. And the Galaxy, by the way, have currently on the roster, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders.
That was good pod.
And it always is. Four of those guys have to start, so you have 2 backups right now. And by the way, the 2 guys who probably aren't starting, whenever you go, there has to be more. Hold on, I got to count it again.
And if we're being real, we know that with a season there comes injuries. There are reasons why Pontius didn't finish the season. It comes because of injuries. So you're going to need depth. So yes, maybe you don't love Perry Kitchen, but there's going to be a point where someone has, a hamstring tightness or, has an injury from a previous game, and you're going to need to plug those guys in there. So there's nothing wrong with stockpiling your assets. I don't see an issue with especially since you can't get rid of these guys.
Yeah.
You can't complain that they're here.
No,
they're going to serve a purpose.
So again, 6 defenders. 4 of those guys have to start. They don't really even, I would say, have a starting back line yet because I think they're missing a left back. We'll get into that rumor in a little bit in terms of possibly a player coming back. But you look at that and you say, okay, so they already just have 2 subs on defense. So you would have to imagine with the roster space they have right now that they're going to be adding, I've said 2 to 3 defenders in these last sort of bits. And when you look at that and you say, okay, 2 to 3 defenders, probably one of those guys is a starter, one of them's probably a borderline starter, and one of them's a backup. That makes sense because you already have backups. You have Hilliard Arce. Again, we get into
Is he going to get minutes? We'll see.
I don't know. Do you think he deserves to get any minutes?
No, that's what I'm saying. So do you count him as a depth position?
Yeah.
If you don't think he's going to sniff the field, but I guess if you think back to last season where he was plugged in when they were missing pieces.
Yeah. And
so I understand that. I walk back the exact point that I just made.
Okay,
there
good.
you go. Beauty of the live
that
show.
Was there. That is good pod. That is good pod. No, whenever you look at this thing again, the you need to build these specific backup players and borderline starters and guys who are going to push and guys who are a little bit younger and a little bit cheaper. All those things are part of building a roster. You can't have in Major League Soccer 4 designated players. Oh, wait a minute.
Maybe that was a bad example. Maybe you shouldn't have gone with that.
I shouldn't have led with that one. But no, you can't have all guys making $5-6 million on the team, and
you can't have all guys making all $500,000. That's just not possible.
It doesn't work. So there are guys like Carrasco. I asked people today. I was like, okay, so what are the surprises? Tell me the surprises that you have. Here are the guys who have re-signed or signed a new contracts or anything like that. Emmanuel Boateng re-signed. Is that a surprise? No. I don't think so.
Is this the audience game?
Yeah, no,
it's not a surprise.
No, well, you're allowed to answer however you want to answer. You tell me, Eric. All right. So is Emmanuel Boateng a surprise?
No.
Okay. Is Chris Pontius a surprise?
No.
Okay. Is Zlatan Ibrahimovic a surprise?
I'm surprised. I'm happy that he stayed.
Right.
But I could have seen him leaving.
Right.
So is it a surprise that he's returning? In a way, yes. But at the same time,
you wanted him back.
You want him back.
So for the purpose of this exercise, you wanted him back. You always have to be difficult.
I couldn't just give you a yes or no.
Here's 2 guys who signed new contracts. Now, one of these guys had their option decline. One of these guys was out of contract, all right? Rolf Felcher, was he a surprise?
I don't think he was a surprise. I was, because he came and it was his first season last season, I was expecting him to be back. I didn't know that not having him back was an option. And
the Galaxy did their due diligence in this in terms of going to Rolf and saying, okay, we're not going to give you all the money we said we were going to give you for next year because we have an option on this. Yeah, so they went and they negotiated apparently down. So, I mean, that was a good piece of business. Yeah. Okay, good job. That was good. So Rolf Felcher comes back. Dave Romney, is that a surprise?
Not a surprise.
Well, because he is a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. And Dave Romney is, with the longevity that he's had with the team, again, to see him go elsewhere when you can offer him, the money that he's deserved up to this point. No, it's not a surprise to see him back.
I'll tell you the one player who is a surprise, and here, or at least to me, Servando Carrasco.
Yeah, that's surprising. I thought they could have let him walk.
And the only reason that you sit there and you don't care about Servando Carrasco coming back is because he didn't make any money. So it doesn't. Yes, he takes up a roster spot, but he hit 67,500 in 2018.
Well, yeah,
I mean. What are you going to... Okay, do you need another midfielder there? That's the one that...
Well, and that's the thing. If the SuperDraft is coming up tomorrow, do you draft a player and pay him that salary? Or do you going back, the devil you know what you're going to get from a veteran presence, and you know what the expectation is, so you just keep him around to that salary, and you don't risk it on someone who you may end up releasing later. So low risk.
I will tell you this. If you want to criticize the LA Galaxy for... that, go ahead. For 67,000, but go ahead. I mean, I think you could look back at what they did last year and say that that's going to hurt them more this year if you don't get performances out of guys like Kitchen and Shelvik for how much money that you're paying. But that you're also probably out of those contracts at the end of this next season as well. Again, it's about contracts and flexibility,
they're
too.
This year's Mike Ciani.
Are they going to get a McLaren?
I hope so.
Each of them. They both get McLarens. No, so I mean that's what you're looking at in terms of this. I think the Galaxy have 3 to 4 defenders to add. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. There's no left back right now. Mm-hmm. No left back that you're like, oh, that's definitely the left back. They have no backup at right back, which the Galaxy apparently just don't want to have backup at right backs. So I mean, there's stuff to
Robbie
criticize.
Rogers isn't coming back?
No, he's not. 23 players right now, 28 possible. You figure they are going to fill between 5 and 7 more slots.
We've got time. Plenty of time.
Plenty of time. The transfer window, I don't even think is open yet. I think it opens in February. So, which doesn't mean anything, by the way, because you can bring players and you just can't add them to your roster officially.
Can't sign the dotted line.
Yeah, there you go. So it's one of those things that I sit there and I know I had a tough day this morning. All right, so I was yelling at people on Twitter. And it was because I got up early and went and did my workout.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to get in arguments on Twitter.
It wasn't an argument. I was just screaming at people. First of all,
that's called therapy.
First of all, I was right, so I didn't really care, right? So it was one of those, but I was angry for no reason.
Primal scream therapy.
Yeah. Imagine being married to me with that type of logic all the time. I was right, so, I was just screaming.
I'd rather not imagine that if you don't mind.
It's a good time. I'm a caring person. Let's see. No, so you look at that, and I'm just not big on... I know the Galaxy have screwed the fans in the last couple of years. I get it. And you look at the decisions they've made and how they've tried to go about this, but they've made the right decisions. And quite honestly, I thought they made good signings last season. The guys just didn't pan out. You look at Shelvik, that should have panned out. Michael Ciani was always going to be an issue, and everybody knew that coming into it. I thought Perry Kitchen at the start was a good signing.
At the beginning of the season, everyone was feeling really good about Perry Kitchen.
I really liked Perry, and it just didn't work.
It didn't end well.
It didn't fit what that team was. Maybe it works differently in a different formation with Perry Kitchen this year. I mean, and the same thing with Shelvik. Put him with somebody. Put him with somebody who's a capable defender, and can they build a partnership there and make something happen? Because him and Michael Ciani don't work.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to you have to see how the chemistry is, because legit, I know, has been tried out, and some of the fans have asked for him to be in the midfield, but when he was put in that position, he wasn't necessarily successful. But with the pairing with Jonah Dos Santos in the middle, that worked. So it's just a matter of having the right component. So it wasn't that legit couldn't be in the middle. He just needed the right pairing. So the same thing with Kitchen. It's not that Kitchen can't serve a purpose in that role. It's just when he's not paired with the right people, then he's not going to be able to execute effectively. And so I think that's what happened with Perry Kitchen. It's not that he's, god awful, although I'm sure, again, primal scream therapy and Twitter people will say the opposite.
Right.
But I think it's a pairing thing. He didn't have people who complemented his game well.
No, and it's all about those pieces, and who knows, maybe the Schelotto can figure out a way to sort of put those pieces together. So I agree, but you look at the players now that the Galaxy got rid of, right? So Ashley Cole, as of right now, we'll talk about that. Just no,
we're the teasing.
Michael Ciani, okay. Baggio Husidic, okay. Shannon Williams, okay.
Yeah.
Ari Lassiter, okay. Brian Silvestri, okay. And then at one point, Servando Carrasco was on that list, and he came back. He was the surprise.
And it's one of those Husidic or Carrasco. I think it's a coin flip.
And
just pick
and
which
look
one.
At which one is getting paid.
The one who's getting paid 175 or the one who's getting paid 67. That's the one you keep.
So or you could keep neither of them. Again, if you want to criticize them, sure.
But then you'd bring someone else at that value, and then let's be realistic. For $67,000, who else are you going to get that's going to be better? And I don't know. I hate to be the guy sitting in a chair critiquing someone's talent, but at that price level, I mean, you get what you pay for.
That's why you get the big bucks, dude.
Yeah.
Just come in here. Just it's scorched earth. All right. Just burn it all down in front of you. It doesn't.
You
matter.
get what you pay for, and then $800,000 on Mike Ciani. I guess maybe you don't always get what you pay for.
Oh, you get what you pay for.
The McLaren was worth it.
You get what you pay for. Okay. So all that stuff always comes back, whether it works or not. So anyway, so again, I'm just not surprised by any of this stuff, and I don't think that anybody should be surprised by these moves. And you can say that the team was always going to look a lot like it was because they got rid of so many people the year before and signed a whole bunch of people. That means that those people are all on contracts. So you knew there wasn't going to be people, we need 12 new players. That's never going to happen. Not going to happen. And the guys they got rid of were guys that you wanted to get rid of. Now, they moved Giovanni Dos Santos. Everybody agrees the offseason's a success, kind of no matter what happens.
And that's and again, when you look at it and you say, well, the team's not that much different, but if you were to move a Giovanni Dos Santos and people would be happy with it, then it's the same thing with the other pieces. It's addition by subtraction. I mean, I think last season, looking back at some of those games, you almost think we'd be better not having these players on the roster and just keeping, everyone else. And so that's kind of the situation we're in now. You get rid of the pieces that didn't work, and right now you're better off without them than you were keeping just a warm body.
Yeah, to me, it makes a lot of sense. I will say this: you can certainly criticize the Galaxy if they don't do anything to reinforce their defense. If they don't go out and get 3 or 4 players, 3 or 4 defenders, because really, you look at the depth across all the different positions, and you're kind of okay. Although I'll still argue that the Galaxy are thin at striker because Giovanni Dos Santos is not on this team,
and that's a fair argument, and especially with Zlatan's age, and if his only backup is Kamara, and
he's not, right?
If that's not where you're playing him, if Kamara's playing somewhere else, then he's not the backup,
right?
Then who's the backup up front? So I understand that. So
Bradford Jameson is a striker that is somebody who would be a backup, even though he's more of a right wing. So
I enjoyed him when he played in the middle.
I guess you could put Boateng up top. Right, I mean they've done that before and it worked out horribly.
Subbing Zlatan for Boateng is always my favorite Galaxy moment. I love that exchange. Zlatan off the field, Boateng on. The stark contrast is always amazing to me.
Zlatan is convinced that he's as fast as Boateng, right? This is like a thing. This
is not convinced. He knows.
He knows. He's never once. I think they did some different drills and stuff like that, and so there was like a speed drill, and Zlatan has the really long gait, so for like 2 steps he can catch Ema and just tag him. He's like, see, you're not as fast. You're not like you get him out.
That's not how this works.
That's not how. Yeah, I go. You get him out and Ema's gone. So anyway, so that type of thing. I want to preach patience with an eye towards looking what the Galaxy now need. They need defense. Listen, Kevin came on Monday and basically said the Galaxy they want to get at defenders. Okay, that's what they want. Kloese said it. Schelotto has basically said it. Klein has said it. They know they need defenders. They know they need to fix the defense. But you also have a coach right now, Schelotto, who has not sat down with any of his players yet, who hasn't seen what the team looks like. And so if you go into training camp without the defenders, that's okay too. You can sit there a little bit.
Well, look to last season. When did we get our savior?
Zlatan came like 3 games in 4 games. Yeah, 3 games into the season.
Yeah, the season was already started.
Yep.
And that's when he came in and made the difference. So I'm not saying we'd be happy to start making these moves once we're 5 games into the season, but it is still January and it's too early to say that we're not happy with the roster construction right now. I think it is too early because all the dominoes haven't fallen yet. And especially with Schelotto, and we'll talk about the rumors a little bit later. Of course, there are going to be players who he's going to reach out. He's going to talk to, officially what's it been 2 weeks since he's been with the club.
Yeah.
And so that's going to take time for him to put those feelers out as well.
Yeah, it's a bigger deal. I know that you want to get all the players into preseason because you'd like for them to start gelling. But if you think about it, you look at the Galaxy and how many people they're returning and how they finish the season out, and you and I are of the delusional, belief that
it's called being a homer. Embrace it, lean into it.
This is something I believe to my core that the Galaxy, had they gone to the playoffs, would have been a very difficult team to beat, and that's basically it. They could have easily won MLS Cup. I could see it. I accept it against Atlanta. That was the only one that I was like, no, I don't think they're better than Atlanta.
And that was with the whole league. Atlanta was miles ahead of everyone else.
It felt that way. So you go and look at all that stuff, and you say, why would you want to change? Again, my big sort of frustration is, what else do you want them to change? The only thing they can change or should change is the defense, because the midfield and the offensive side of things was the 3rd best offense in the league. And if you could just cut down on some of the goals that you had, you would have been an easy playoff team. Possibly you would have been at the top of the Western Conference.
My only pushback there is with the midfield, you may want some of that. The defensive struggles go with having someone in the midfield who's going to be able to support in those positions as well and not leave them vulnerable. So sections of the midfield can be reinforced and you'd like to see someone there. But with Lletget and Dos Santos, that worked out well. But
do you go back to that? I mean, that's sort of the question is, do you go back to that? Do you go back to, because I've been leaning towards going back to that and not touching anything, because really the offense, just was thriving there towards the end. They were able to score. Ola Kamara was scoring goals, all sorts of things. But it is about, who you match up and how it works. And maybe a Juninho Perry Kitchen midfield is what this Galaxy needs, and it's going to show.
And that might work in certain situations. There may be, an away game at Vancouver where that's going to work. That's going to be, the style that you need to play. But the other thing that I think we're discounting, and we're saying last season, Jonah and Lletget in the midfield and the wingers and the way that, Romney and Stairs in the middle, that work. Let's stay with that. We also have to think we have a new coach and we have a new GM, and they preach style of play. We're going to create a style. We're going to create an attacking system. And so they still have to put their footprint on the team. So maybe they get these guys into camp, they look at who they have, they see them train, and they go something totally different. They end up with a 4-5-1, or they go 4-3-3. So they may do something totally different based on their evaluation. So to solely judge it and say last season this worked, again, we're having new chefs in the kitchen, so they're gonna assemble the ingredients.
New chefs in the kitchen, a little spice this year. All right,
bam,
we'll see.
a little emerald, emerald for you.
That was. It would have been great had you not
1997
screwed that up.
Is that what the kids are still into, right?
Yes, they love that stuff. That's what they want. There was a comedian who was talking about. You have satellite radio?
I do not.
Okay, so there's satellite radio, as this one comedian says, is like the greatest gift ever, and there's all these things, different channels, and that like they feel like there's so many channels that are directly made for you, and there's the Lithium channel, which plays all the like grunge hits of like the 1990s.
It's my brother's move, the Lithium channel.
There you go. So that's sort of it, and he was like, and those were all the songs that in high school I was there, and the comedian goes, man, he goes, I listen to that channel, I feel like I can make Varsity all over again. I'm like. There is something. You listen to that channel, you get a little pumped up, and you're like, I am
taste
in.
The music.
I am in. Varsity is mine this year. We're going to state. Anyway, all right. So we go on. Technical staff. Let's talk about that because this was interesting. With Guillermo Barros-Schelotto making his first, I guess we could call it decisions. Talking about the additional assistant coaches that he wanted and that he brought on, and the rumors were all there about, by the way. So it was announced on Wednesday that Guillermo Barros-Schelotto has brought on, and I'm so happy for this. This is shenanigans built in for the rest of the season and for as long as these two are together. His twin brother, Gustavo Barros-Schelotto, will be there alongside. You have Ariel Pereira and Dominic Kinnear. So Kinnear coming back, and I think we talked a little bit about that on Monday night with Kevin, but...
Whose brother is he?
Dominic Kinnear? Yeah, I know, right?
Is he a distant cousin? Or?
It could have been. It could have been. But no, I love that the twin brothers are there. I want to see Gustavo come in for a press conference and us not be able to tell the difference. It's going to be interesting, though, whenever you see him like walking down the hall. Hopefully they like dress differently all the time because if it's both of them, I'm screwed. I'm telling you right now.
And it doesn't help if they did the move where they put the initials on the jackets because they're both...
Yeah,
both G's, so
they're both
it
G's.
really doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, they're just absolutely. So if they want to mess with reporters, they can totally do that.
Are we still playing the Are You Surprised game?
Yeah, yes.
Because I'm not surprised by this move. Everyone was expecting his twin brother to come along for the ride.
Yeah, and you also got Ariel Pereira, who was with him at Boca Juniors as well, and I think he was also with him at Lanús as well. So, I mean, these guys, as they've traveled, this is a good he already has a team. This is basically, he's like, I know how it is, and he's adding Dominic Kinnear, who can speak Spanish, and also can sort of be like, this is these guys, I know them, so it can sort of be the bridge between these two seasons. I think it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, but it's a smart move because if you come in whole hog with a brand new staff, you're starting from scratch, especially when you look at the roster and it's mostly people who have already been here. So keeping Dom is absolutely a key factor because he's gonna be the secret to the success because he's gonna be able to communicate the Galaxy of 2018 with the Galaxy of 2019. So what didn't work and then what worked, and he's going to be the go-between there. So I think it's fantastic that he's able to stay because based on his resume, he could definitely be going elsewhere. So the fact that he's willing to stay, especially after what it seems like the Galaxy offered him a position that maybe wasn't
right
up to his standards, but the fact that he's still staying with the club, relationships must be good to a certain extent, or he must like the players in the locker room.
Yeah, well, and the players love him.
Yeah.
I mean, so we know that. The other news there was Javier Valdecantos, 60-year-old Javier Valdecantos is joining as the club fitness coach. That means, by the way, that we had some departures as well, which is director of sports performance Pierre Barou and assistant coach Ezra Hendrickson are no longer with the club, and that also includes Kurt Schmidt, who is no longer with the club as well. But they did keep former assistant coach Junior Gonzalez will remain with the club as a scout.
Perfect. Do we know Valdecantos? Do we know how he is with hamstrings?
Yeah, apparently
is he a hamstring specialist?
Apparently, this guy has like a mythical sort of following to him that he is like this miracle worker.
Ooh, is it like one of those Mr. Miyagi where he claps the hands and shakes them together?
Yeah,
heals people.
Valdecantos, 60, was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and joined Schelotto's staff at Boca Juniors when he was hired in 2016. Valdecantos has worked for professional clubs in Argentina, Spain, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Mexico. So
you don't hang around that long and not know what you're doing.
It's going to be really fun to like sort of see what happens. I don't know. I always get pumped up.
This is exciting.
Galaxy still don't have a goalkeeper coach, by the way. Just want to point that out, just in case you're paying along.
This is your weekly Matt Reese plug.
My Matt Reese plug. I really enjoy Matt Reese.
Is he giving a little bit off the top here?
I said I'm going to start charging him. He didn't ask me to put his name out there. I'm just.
He's like, why are you volunteering? I'm enjoying my time off.
He's like, I am doing good. I'm playing FIFA and having a good way. And what a segue that was!
Wow, you almost pulled your hamstring stretching for that one.
It was
I'll
nice.
allow it.
That was smooth as butter. All right. LA Galaxy re-signed esports player Giuseppe Gustella to a new contract, and then they also signed some new esports guys. I know, Eric, you were following this even more than I was.
Yeah, I'm all in.
You're all in. Okay, so basically, they now have a team of 4 esports players, correct?
Yes, and they all have different specialties as well, because some are Xbox players, some are PS4 players, and so you bring these guys in. So I think it's an exciting thing to have these esports players, because it was funny the reaction that people have.
Who cares? Who cares? Right? That's what people were saying.
Who cares? And why are we not talking about bringing in defenders? Why are we not building our team? Why are we wasting our time with esports? And I'm going to defend it for a little bit. And I think it's a smart move for the Galaxy to have these esports players, and especially with FIFA. And the timing of the announcement, it's January. The games are not happening for another few weeks. So you're not going to announce it in the middle of summer when you're in the middle of the season. This is the time to make the announcement that you have your esports players. The second thing is, kids play FIFA. I don't know if you've heard, but kids play FIFA.
This is news to me.
Yeah, and have been for the past 25 years. There are different games and trends that come. Grand Theft Auto was the hot thing. Call of Duty was another thing. Minecraft. Now it's Fortnite. But FIFA has always been the other game. It's always whatever's hot right now, and then FIFA. And so to have someone out there and just being connected with school-aged children, you see that they love video games. They love watching gamers on Twitch. And so when they see someone who's representing the LA Galaxy and playing their game, FIFA, this is something that's good for the Galaxy brand. And it's a smart business decision to bring these guys in to represent the club. And it does no harm.
It does no harm. By the way, there also is, I think there's a tournament coming up that the Galaxy are actually hosting, maybe on January. I think it's in January sometime. January 27th or something like that. I don't know. It's probably in the press release. I probably could have read it before I just tossed it aside. But anyway, no, I mean, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. People get bent out of shape about this. This was not something that Guillermo Schelotto was doing. All
Dennis Kloese didn't go and scout these guys himself.
Kloese wasn't like, oh, look at those joystick skills. No, that wasn't what happened. So, I mean, the Galaxy doing well. And by the way, I think this is a growth area for MLS, and it's a growth area for just esports in general. And I want to say I would gladly go to StubHub and watch a final on a big screen, and do that as well.
And it's something you don't want to be on the wrong side and be the grumpy old man, get off my lawn.
This isn't a sport.
Because 100 years ago, how many people were saying, you're going to go pay to watch people kick a round ball into a goal? Why are you paying for that? This is just the way the world is going. It's something people enjoy doing. And so, don't get bent out of shape about it. This is a thing that people enjoy. You enjoy the LA Galaxy if you're listening to this. And there are people who don't, and that's okay. People enjoy esports. If you don't enjoy it, that's okay. They can still have that lane to thrive in.
There are party poopers everywhere, Eric, and we just won't allow it for this esports stuff. All right, this is. You know who the biggest party pooper on esports is? I'm gonna call him out. Panda.
Oh, he's not all in?
Mr. Kevin Baxter is like. I go, hey, dude, you should write an article about this. Hey, go on Twitter and tell Kevin he should write an esports article and find out what he says. All right. Just if you don't get blocked, I'm just warning you. I don't know.
And that's one of me personally. I'm not all. I don't watch it and I don't follow it 100% closely, but I get it. I understand the draw and the appeal to it. So I'm not going to poo-poo it.
The best thing was somebody was saying, hey, how can these kids sit there and watch somebody else do something like play a game? And it's like, don't you watch HGTV and watch people remodel their houses all the time? And are you remodeling your house? Probably not.
Aren't you watching two guys talk about guys playing esports on YouTube? This is wheels within wheels right now.
They're betting on us, though. That's the whole thing. They're going to see who's going to pass out first. All right, let's go on and move on. Let's do MLS Combine stuff. Or not Combine, but SuperDraft. MLS Combine over as of yesterday on the 9th. Everything now shifts to McCormick Place in Chicago, a place I've been multiple times, never for a soccer event. It's a giant convention hall that is just probably one of the most boring places on the face of this earth.
But not tomorrow.
But not tomorrow. MLS SuperDraft will start, and of course, we've talked with the LA Galaxy having 6 picks overall. Not as many as FC Cincinnati, who has 10. But almost as many. I mean, you're within striking distance there. If you didn't pay attention to that, FC Cincinnati picked up every single one of the Philadelphia Union's draft picks, which, by the way, Bruce Arena once passed on a draft pick and everybody gave him crap. Completely giving away all your draft picks to somebody else and then trying really hard to justify it was the best thing. And by the way, I have no problem with that strategy.
If you're going to pass anyway, then give them to the new guy.
And you got something out of it, right?
Exactly.
And FC Cincinnati is really going to choose 10 players out of this draft. See, there's a thing. People are calling it the MLS SuperDraft, and really I think we should be shifting our focus and calling it the USL SuperDraft because most of these players now, with the gap between college and the professional ranks, I think widening and not getting any smaller, or certainly not whenever the LA Galaxy were able to get AJ De La Garza and Omar Gonzalez from the same draft and put them together on the field in that same year and be successful in 2009 going to an MLS Cup. It's not like that anymore. And these kids, I mean, you saw Hilliard Arce, who I think could be a good defender. I didn't feel the game speed was there, and I think it's just something he has to learn.
And that goes to say something because he was coming off the national championship team. Yeah. Arguably the best team in the country. He was the pillar of the defense.
Two-time national.
And he was the captain of that team. And he came in and he didn't steal a starting spot from any of our MLS caliber defenders. So that tells you the gap that's there. And so with the amount of academies and USL affiliates that there are out there, that's what this draft is. It's you see what they can do, and if they're successful in USL, you can see them hopefully make their way up to the first team.
There was a Jared comment and a Dota comment in the chat room, and that's thrown it way back. So I don't know.
Lost me.
You
on that
you don't know Dota's an e-game, an esports game for sure. Wow. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Former co-host Jared Dubois, and then former co-host Corey Ritzau and I went to a Buffalo Wild Wings and almost got in a fight with Dota people whenever we were going to watch a Galaxy game that was supposed to be there. Yeah, anyway. So,
good times.
Yeah, great times. But we go back to SuperDraft. So, again, 6 picks for the Galaxy. There's no way they're putting all 6 on the calendar or on the roster. They have the overall 12th pick, overall 36th pick, overall 51st, overall 52nd.
I think that's where they would stop. I don't see them going beyond that.
Overall 60th, and then overall 86th. So that goes through all 4 rounds. They have 3 picks in the 3rd round, and from my understanding, if I'm still correct, only the first 2 rounds are televised of the MLS SuperDraft, and I believe they do the next 2 rounds on a conference call. So really, it only goes 2 rounds that they're actually doing, and then they do 2 rounds like the day or 2 later on a conference call because you're in 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Hit the ticker.
So I expect the Galaxy will make their 1st and 2nd round picks, and those are probably going to be good picks. So you went over some mock drafts, and I just said, hey, try to find some of the names that maybe line up, or just throw some guys out there and sort of see where the LA Galaxy might end up. So what have you found?
So looking at the mock drafts, and again, the deep world of MLS SuperDraft mock drafts, what a world it is. The same names kind of popped up in this area. And so there are 3 names that stick out, and they're all defenders. The first one is Akeem Ward from Creighton. He's someone that he went into the combine as the top fullback. But people, I guess, other prospects seem to show out above him, so he may drop to that 12 spot. Okay. So the fact that he was highly touted coming in shows that he would possibly be a good pick, that if he fell to that number 12 spot, that seems like it would be a good fit for the Galaxy. The other one name that pops out there is Sergio Rivas. He's from Seattle University, so he's another defender who would kind of mimic that Thomas Hilliard Arce style player. So the only question is, if you have Thomas Hilliard Arce, are you going to bring someone in who's very similar to him? And the other one that I saw pop up in that number 12 spot is Prosper Figby,
which should just happen just because of the name alone. Yes,
that sounds like an esports name, right there.
It does.
That should be in a video game.
It does.
Prosper Figby.
Yes.
So he's out of Virginia, and so he's someone who, in contrast to Akeem Ward, he's someone who impressed, and so he's the one who's moved up to that position. So it's going to be just a matter of where these players fall. There are some players who are homegrown players, and I think that teams are looking to pick up homegrown players because of the roster implications that
Right.
has. But a lot of those players are more highly, they're going to go before that number 12 spot. So I think if you have someone, a name that just pops up here is John Nelson. So he's someone who's expected to go, number 6, and he's a homegrown player out of North Carolina. So if you get a homegrown player to happen to fall, the Galaxy might jump on that opportunity because it's not going to take roster space. But it's just, it's tough because I don't know how people are able to keep up with the college game, but we know Schelotto was there. We know Kloese was there.
Right.
And so they were able to see these guys and see what they can do. So I'm sure whatever they saw and how they want to fill the roster, whether it is defense, which we suspect, or if they go a different direction and bring in some attackers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Paul Tenorio was reporting that basically the combine was probably on its last year anyway, and that this was it, and that it's just expensive, and that there's no need for it anymore. Yeah. And quite honestly, if you have a scouting department that wants to go down and scout college teams anymore, then you can do that, and you can still have a draft, and there's tape, and you can do that. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason to have a combine anymore, and quite honestly, the college season should stand alone. Mike Gray, who obviously writes for LA Galaxy Confidential, did pick Prosper Figby in the SB Nation mock draft. So, Mike, there you go. There was your free plug, Mike. That will only cost you $20. So, as we continue on with the MLS SuperDraft, just sort of look at that. The Galaxy could end up picking 6 players. If they do, guaranteed that you're not going to get, maybe you get 1 or 2 of those 6 will sign a senior team contract. The rest will either go to USL and sign with USL, Eric, or they're not going to get signed.
Is this something, I know the NBA, when they draft players, they bring them into camp, they play them in the summer league, and if they don't pan out, they could drop them.
Yeah.
Is that something where if the Galaxy could pick 6, bring them into camp, try them out, and if there's no commitment that they have to sign these players?
No, there's no commitment. Okay, and so you always have to sit there and say, are they? Especially the lower round guys have not made, much of an impact either. I mean, Hilliard Arce was actually kind of an exception in the last couple of years.
Looking at the 36th pick, hoping Marcelo Borges from Michigan falls back. He sounds Portuguese. It's a Portuguese last name.
So you're all in.
I'm all in on Marcelo Borges out of Michigan.
That makes sense.
Left back. We need a left back.
That makes sense. All right.
If you're listening, Marcelo Borges, I'm all in. Call me, your new agent.
That's how it is. All right. Ashley Cole back to the Galaxy. Let's do rumors.
Speaking of left backs,
I know we need to get
segue?
there. That was way smoother than my esports one. Ashley Cole coming back to the LA Galaxy. All right. I believe it was Sam Stejskal who had that one.
Yes. Not fake Sam Stejskal.
The real one. And Sam does a great job out there. So Sam and Paul Tenorio are basically, if they say something, don't come to me and ask me if it's true, because it's already, whatever they said is true. All right, these guys are really good.
Legs are moving.
But anyway, Sam Stejskal basically says that Dennis Kloese has been in talks with Ashley Cole. Now, after I heard that, I decided to do a little bit of digging and find it. And while I can't have anybody who jumps up and down and says, oh yeah, it's going to happen, I did have somebody tell me that apparently Ashley Cole never left Los Angeles this year, which I thought was really interesting, because we all thought that for sure he was going to go back to England.
Thought he was homesick. We thought that he wanted to go back to England. That was what we heard. This is your fault, Josh.
Yeah, I know.
That's what you told us.
I was. It seemed right. It's all this stuff. Ashley, throughout the season, Ashley said, I'm not coming back, basically. And he said, if the Galaxy want to talk to me, then we can talk. There was a rumor at the very beginning of the offseason that came out of England that said the LA Galaxy had offered him a contract, and that was not true. So that was not a true thing that had happened.
And here's the good sign, if you do want him to come back, is if he was going to go somewhere else to play, the transfer window, in Europe is going on right now. So you're not hearing about other teams offering him to come play back in England, whether it's in the Championship or the Premiership. You're not hearing those rumors pop up. So I don't know if that's a matter of him trying to negotiate with the Galaxy and wanting to stay here, or if it's just the fact that it's gone cold and, maybe he's not wanted as a player on the field back in England.
Yeah, I mean, it's all interesting, because we thought maybe he would go coach, and that I thought that was a prime thing for him. But anyway, speaking to at least one player was like, yeah, we'd love to have him back. That being said, you have a 38-year-old Ashley Cole. He just turned 38, I believe, in December 20th, so that was recently.
Yeah, and I think if you want him back, you want him for that experience and the advice, and
he was captain.
You want the soccer mind. Yeah,
he was captain.
I could see where players would want him back. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So anyway, no, I mean, all that stuff. He's a great guy. Now, I mean, I think it would feel a little bit like a panic move, like, hey, we don't have a left back. Can you come be a left back? But it's also Ashley Cole as the captain, so I'm at the right price. This is where I always put it. at the right price, Ashley Cole makes a ton of sense.
And do you bring back Ashley Cole as your sub, as your depth? That's kind of an odd move also for someone who captained your team, played a ton of games, and was serviceable. I think he maybe took a step backward, but at the same time, did he take a step backward enough to make him your bench option? Is that disrespectful? Is that something he wants? Is that something that he'd be willing to do?
Trying to think of roster flexibility. If you bring Ashley Cole back, whether he's a starter or anything, he becomes your third left back, right? Because you have Jorgen who can play left back, you have Romney who can play left back, and you would have Ashley Cole who can play left back. That's not horrible in terms of that's depth. This is why Romney's so versatile, by the way. This is why it makes sense that you bring him back for however much money he ended up getting, which was a raise, but it's not a ridiculous amount of money. It makes sense because you go, oh well, Romney's depth at that position. Then you go to center back. Well, Romney's depth at that. Oh,
then you go to right back.
Oh, the right back. Oh, Romney's depth at that position.
Then you go striker because Dave Romney is my favorite striker.
Dave Romney is everybody's favorite striker. No, but so you look at that and you look at the depth, and with Ashley Cole coming back, now you have an actual left back like line. Right, you have 3 deep, and you're like, okay, now it might be that 3 of those guys start. All 3 of them start, which I can see with Rolf, Romney, Shelvik, and Cole.
That sounds like a back line.
The problem is Shelvik on that, right? I mean, that's.
But who else is walking through the door?
Another transition, sir. All right, the rumor that came out today, and one that I cannot confirm, although it certainly ticks a lot of boxes. So if you go over to the rumor tracker, you're going to see it is a warm rumor. It's not a hot rumor. It's not a scorching hot rumor. It's not a cold rumor. It is right in the middle because this is one of those that, while it makes a ton of sense, and could be wrong.
Yes.
But 26-year-old defender Diego Polenta is rumored to have reached an agreement to sign with the LA Galaxy. Polenta is a left-footed center back and is currently out of contract after captaining Uruguayan side Club Nacional of the Primera División. This is a guy who is currently out of contract and has been out of contract since July 1st. So he doesn't have a club. All of these things seem to line up to say that this is great, that this could be a really good signing for the LA Galaxy, a guy who's out of contract.
Well, the one red flag is that he's been without a club for 6 months.
True.
That is a red flag. But 26, coming from one of the biggest clubs in that country, that's a good sign. And, my sources, seeing Dennis Kloese following him on Instagram, that seals the deal for me.
That does it for you. I will say this. Here's where it gets better. In the story itself, like a lot of times there's made-up stories, and you sit there and go, well, that's a stupid made-up story. At least in this one, if they're making it up, they're making it up well.
Yes.
That Guillermo Barros-Schelotto had Polenta on his list of people he wanted to transfer in after playing against Nacional with Boca Juniors, and was like, hey, we want you at Boca Juniors, and they could never get a deal done. And so they wanted them multiple times, apparently, and they still couldn't get him to Boca Juniors. And now that he's with the LA Galaxy,
now's his chance.
He is out. It makes a ton of sense. This is where it gets dangerous on rumors. Usually I can tell if a rumor's BS pretty quick in terms of it doesn't make sense. The timing makes sense. The player's age makes sense. The player's position makes sense. The fact that he's out of contract, quite honestly, makes sense for signing in MLS.
The sources that they're coming from,
it's a lot of Latin American,
but it's people who are familiar with those players. It's not someone who wants a player, from those countries to come this way and keeps an eye on someone who's already embedded in that system. Who probably has some connections closer to that player.
Well, I mean,
so it's warm. Warm is the appropriate rating. I like that. That's why you go to the tracker.
Let me give you some fishy stuff too about this, because there's plenty. I'll give you there's the pump up. You can all get excited. All right, here we go.
Let us down, Josh.
Yep, everything's sort of going. Now let me just throw some cold water on it. Whenever you actually try to trace back and find the story and do all this stuff, it goes back to like 4 different reporters, like through a chain, in order to try to confirm it. So it's like, this guy confirmed it, and then you go to that guy and he's like, and this guy confirmed it, and you're like, okay, and then you go to this next guy and this guy confirmed it. You're like, could somebody show me something that is real in any
how
of
long
this?
Is this one of those pranks? It's 6 months he's been without a club, and it just those Twitter threads where you just keep clicking and it just keeps going down and down, going and so on, and so on.
Out of contract. Red flag a little bit, as you said. The free transfer makes sense for MLS wise. Here's where you take it and you want to connect the dots, is because of the prior relationship with Guillermo Barros-Schelotto, and it's because it's a position of need for the Galaxy, and it's because it's a younger player, and it's because it's a guy who was captain of his team in a competitive league in South America.
Yep.
All of these things make sense. So, again, we're leaving it on warm if I can get. And by the way, I asked and I got the. Let me see here. I don't know that guy.
Polenta? Don't you eat polenta?
Yeah,
is that what you got?
Isn't that what? The name doesn't ring a bell. That's what I got. So you look at all this stuff and try to figure out where it is and how it goes. And you sort of see that right now we feel that, it's a warm rumor. It could happen. It could not happen. We could find out tomorrow that it all goes downhill and all goes sideways. I'll say that Christian in our chat room talking about Polenta's agent, and I'll go with Christian on here. I'll trust him. He says that Oscar Betancourt is his agent, and he has connections to Guillermo Barros-Schelotto as well. It feels, again, you can connect keys to this. That's why it's warm and not cold.
Yes.
If I didn't have a good story on this and didn't have a way to do it, I talked to some players, and they were like, I have no idea. Which is normal. By the way, the players I would assume would be the last ones. The last ones to know.
We definitely care a lot more than the players care. I would assume that.
Yes, yeah, it certainly is. So it is it's a warm rumor right now. We will upgrade it if we get even the slightest bit of what I feel is real confirmation in terms of a really good source saying it or anything else. But we're hunting, we're digging, we're trying to find some stuff out.
Yeah,
so
they're not telling us no.
That's another important thing, which is no. That happens all the time, by the way. Where you're like this guy, and they're like no. My sources, I do that all the time. Hey, how about that? No. But what if? No. Okay, cool.
Moving on.
Giovanni Dos Santos turned down a transfer out of Major League Soccer. Perfectly plausible, by the way. It makes 100% sense. Ives was reporting it on goal.com that Gio turned down a transfer request from abroad. There was no indication of what region nor what team it was, so we have no idea where he turned it down. This could indicate, Eric, as we were talking about before this, that Giovanni Dos Santos, as I have theorized many, many times, that Giovanni Dos Santos has a no-trade clause.
Yeah, that's what this smells like, is if he rejected it, then that says that he has the power to say no. And so the fact that, they tried to move him, he did not want to move, that all signs point to me that that's a no-trade clause. Maybe it's not. Maybe if they say, hey, we're going to sell you. And he says, well, if you sell me, I'm going to retire. Or I'm not going to play for that club. That's something that's not unheard of. So maybe that's where the deal falls through. But it seems like it's a no trade clause. And if you think back to the allocation draft, or was the expansion draft, the rumor with Cincinnati and how Cincinnati was maybe a possible destination. The fact that, that probably wasn't true, but something where if a club popped up that he doesn't want to go to, he can turn it down. So it's just a matter of figuring that out.
It's not that big a deal. It is. Here's the deal for Gio. If he wants to go somewhere and play, then he'll lift that no trade clause. And by the way, no trade, no transfer, they're the same thing. From my understanding, if you're going to buy him out, it's a buyout at contract rate. So whatever he's getting paid for the 2019 season, that's what you're paying him, unless there's a specific buyout clause. Yeah. And that buyout clause could be more or less. So, that's a little bit of a deal. But I just feel like the Galaxy aren't panicking and that they know he's going to go. And there's going to be other news that's really, and it's not like transfer news or anything else, but it is going to be, as Kevin and I were theorizing on Monday, that the Galaxy are building without Giovanni Dos Santos. They're doing things without him. Yeah. There's going to be more of that as we funnel down.
You don't sign 4 DPs without a plan in place. You would think, or you would hope that would be the case.
Or you sign 4 DPs, by the way, and you sit there and go, okay, worst case scenario, we buy him out.
Okay.
That's it.
And the other piece of this, too, is Gio could be calling their bluff, because Gio could be saying, maybe I want to go play for this club, but this club doesn't want to pay my salary, so I'm going to wait until the very last minute. Galaxy buys out the contract, and then that club gets him at a discount price. They get him without needing to pay any fee at all.
Yeah.
And so maybe he's calling their bluff, and who knows what conversations he's had with different clubs to kind of, hate to say it, to play the Galaxy in this way.
Well, and the other thing is that you could look at is that, yes, Gio has a contract, but if he was going to go somewhere else, basically you get to agree to new terms with the team that you're going to, and then that could be less money. And he could be like, no,
let me take this $6 million, and then I'll go take your money.
And then I'll go take your money.
Well,
exactly.
This is similar to how we got Ashley Cole.
Yeah, exactly. Ashley Cole takes the buyout and then comes to the LA Galaxy.
At a discount.
All those things make sense, and that's why Eric's a genius.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we get recorded for all eternity? Thank you.
All for that, or for at least a year, until I stop paying the SoundCloud and it disappears or whatever. So anyway, so that's Giovanni Dos Santos. The other sort of Giovanni Dos Santos, we're gonna say loose connection here. Is that with Club America, Diego and I'm Lainez?
It's spelled Lainez.
Lainez.
It's not Yanez.
Yeah, it's not Yanez. There's not two L's. The whitest person you know is trying to figure this out right now. Me. You have no excuse.
Oh, well, I'm Portuguese. It's different. It's very different.
It's always different.
When it's not in my favor, it's very different.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, see Diego Lainez. I will go with that.
Lainez sounds good.
That
was
good?
impressive.
I'll go with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Why not? People are screaming right now. You idiots! I don't watch Liga MX that much. Going to Real Betis of La Liga.
Real Betis.
Sorry.
I
I'm
just
turning
had
into
to.
Kevin.
I had to.
I'm turning into Kevin.
I had to. There's
what
nothing wrong with what you said. I just wanted to be that guy.
Okay, cool. Anyway, of La Liga, people have been theorizing perhaps that opens a door for Giovanni Dos Santos to move to Club America. I should read what I wrote. I basically said on our notes, I said, does that open the door for Gio to move to Club America?
Yeah.
Question mark? No. Right next to it.
You answered your own question.
Yeah, it just
we get rid of this someone whose star is on the rise, and we're going to backfill them with someone whose star is
on decline.
What's the opposite of the rise?
Decline. Decline. Yeah.
To Kloese.
Yeah, no. Giovanni Dos Santos.
There we go.
So down. It just doesn't feel like that it could end up happening, but this doesn't feel like a precursor to that move by any.
And given his age,
imagination.
it's not that he was probably not making a large salary at Club America because he was a young player. Now is when he's getting his paycheck. So it's not a matter of they have the funds now. They opened up funds. I doubt that he was costing that club a lot of money.
I think it's going to be interesting here. Again, the LA Galaxy just 10 days away from preseason training starting. 51 days until the match against Chicago. And, of course, it's been 795 days since the Galaxy's last playoff game and 1,495 days since the last MLS Cup win. Just in case you wanted to keep track of that stuff. I have it on my phone.
If that depresses you, they did there was a stat that came out today, total points all time. And the Galaxy are number one. So if you feel bad about it, all time,
that'll make you feel
LA
better.
Galaxy number one.
One little other bit of news, of course, is Sebastian Lletget off with the U.S. men's national team training with Greg Berhalter, their first camp under new head coach Greg Berhalter. He seems like he's enjoying himself. LA Galaxy posting a lot of pictures of him. That's good. That camp means that Seba has a head start above everybody else. There's another news that we have, which is that Zlatan Ibrahimovic sent his first video from StubHub Center.
He was putting on his socks.
He was putting on his shoes and his shoes.
And listening to some suspect music.
There you go.
It's a great video.
It's a perfect video. It's everything that you want from Zlatan. Zlatan's back in Los Angeles. It would seem, as long as that video was actually shot today, which I believe it was.
It went on about 6 seconds too long.
Yeah, of course.
Started about 6 seconds too soon and then went on just a little too long.
You're like, okay, so what's he going to do?
What's happening here?
It's like somebody just stalking him. They're standing. Officially, the LA Galaxy cannot start training, so you can't.
He's doing this on his own.
He's doing it on his own. He's allowed to be at the facility. And if you remember at one point, Robbie Keane and Landon Donovan got all of the LA Galaxy before a CCL year where they were going in the CONCACAF Champions League. They got them together to train without the coaches before the CBA would allow them to do that. Basically, all dictated by the collective bargaining agreement between the league and the players. So that's how that all goes. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's it.
That's it. Yeah, we've covered a large chunk of it. We got esports, we got the SuperDraft, we got rumors.
I think the SuperDraft is going to be interesting to see how.
I'm curious to see how it plays out.
I would to Kloese because. And Kevin, actually, I was talking to him on the phone today. He came up with this. He said, maybe Kloese just stashes a whole bunch of guys. You get all 6 picks, and then you send them down to USL and build that team up.
Well, and that's why, I asked the question if there's any obligation to pay these players, because my initial thought is you take those top, picks.
That's a very Dave Denholm, by the way. He hates it whenever Bruce Arena passed in the draft.
Yeah.
Dave almost lost. You take it, you get them in camp,
For free.
and you look at them, and you see them for free.
Because my first thought is you take those, the first, the 36, and then maybe the 51st and 52nd, and those are the ones you deal with. But if it doesn't cost you anything, and we know they were at the combine, they were looking at these players, so maybe they bring in 6 that they like or 6 that they thought were interesting. But if the players that they liked are gone by the time they get to those late stages. I don't imagine them wasting their time. GBS and DTK don't look like people who want to waste their breath.
Oh, I have something we can close on. For all the smart people who have figured out that you can send Giovanni Dos Santos down to Los Dos in order to free up a designated player spot. No,
Is that a thing?
No, you can't. You can't do it.
If he has a no trade clause, I'm sure he has a no
transfer,
dose clause.
No
dose on the dose clause.
MLS wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't allow it. I'm telling you right now,
DP?
they straight up wouldn't allow it. You could send a DP down there if he was like recovering from injury, and you could have him down there for, I think, max like 3 weeks, maybe a month. Like if it was a long injury.
I would think USL probably has something in the stipulations that prevents that.
Who knows? But anyway, it just wouldn't happen. MLS would be like, no, nice try. It's not like Joao Pedro where you just send him on loan and forget about him.
Why do you have to do that?
He's
still on the roster.
He is on the roster. I have to put him on the right. He's technically part of one of the 23, but I would imagine that he's on loan and he goes away again.
Do me this favor.
Yes.
No one's listening.
Yes.
Just me and you talking here.
Yes.
Talk to your sources.
Yes.
What's happening? Is he coming
What's
back?
happening with Joao?
I need Joao in my life.
I don't even know. I'm sure if I ask some of them, they just laugh at me.
I'm probably better off just asking Joao myself. What's going on with you?
Hey, dude, are you coming back or what? Are you just DM me? Hit me up. Catch me at Galaxy Profile on Instagram. Wow. See, we are segues all day today. All day, every day. So anyway, make sure you follow Eric. He cracks me up all the time whenever he's doing at Galaxy Profile on Instagram. It is my new favorite Instagram.
It's a lot of fun. So the professional foul, and again, I need to work on my diction. It's Galaxy Profile, PROFOUL. It's like professional foul. Sometimes you'll get an ominous post by Jonathan Dos Santos and gets deleted later. And sometimes you'll just get David Bingham's favorite pretzel snack. You never know. You never know.
Or maybe Jermaine Jones. Or just anytime Jermaine Jones.
I'm monitoring Jermaine Jones. I'm trying to stay away from reposting too much Jermaine Jones content.
I understand. It's good. It's fun, and that's what we like. And so go enjoy that, please. You can follow us on Instagram, of course, at Galaxy Podcast. All right, are we good?
We're good.
That's it. You promise? We don't have anything else.
No, wait.
Okay.
What? No, yeah.
No,
we're
okay. Okay. Tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at GISHammer. You could also hear me on the Guys in Shorts podcast. We had a little bit of a rebranding and a new format, so you can now follow them at Guys in Shorts Pod. Brand new episode up this week. And of course, you can follow me at The Professional Foul, which is on Instagram at Galaxy Pro Foul. And again, like I mentioned, a lot of fun we're having there, reposting players' Instagram stories, figuring out who Dennis Kloese is following. All of these rumors, you can keep track of it. And of course, we'll link you to cornerofthegalaxy.com.
All right. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course, at Galaxy Podcast. Cornerofthegalaxy.com is where you can find us, all of our stories, all of our podcasts, all of our articles, all of our updates. That's where you can find it, cornerofthegalaxy.com. And of course, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on any of your podcasts. Like us, subscribe on YouTube. That's the big one right now. Right, YouTube is where we're trying to grow. And of course, our live shows on Thursday be the first ones to be able to hear that and join us on our live shows. All right. I think that's about it. I don't think we have anything else. So everybody have a great, safe weekend. We'll be back on Monday with Mr. Kevin Baxter, who I believe actually has to travel to Kansas City this weekend to cover throw ball again. Poor Kevin Baxter. Oh, poor Panda. All right. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.